Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inside OSU Athletics podcast. I'm Kevin Klintworth, Senior Associate Athletic Director, joined today by Chad Weiberg, Athletic Director, to talk about the football search, among other things. And among those things, Chad, maybe you could give us a health update. I know you've had a long summer and early fall, but give us an update on how you're doing.
Now I feel great. I'd say I'm 85%. I can do everything that I need to do, and I'm working towards doing all the things that I want to be able to get back to doing. And so now I'm very blessed. All that's gone really well. Now we got Barry Henson kind of going through something similar, so have him in our thoughts and prayers as well. So.
Okay, the football search.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, so you do have an outside agency that you're working with? Yeah,
so we have hired Turnkey, which is one of the firms in this in the industry, if you will, and they're doing a really good job for us so far. But I think that is an important piece of any kind of high-profile search like this.
Do we have a history with them?
They are. We use them in the men's basketball search as well. Yep.
So these outside agencies, it's not really one size fits all. It really is tailored to each search. Yeah. What are they doing for you in this particular search?
Yeah, there's several of them out there, and I probably would have been comfortable with using any one of them, I think. They all do, I think, a really good job, but we chose Turnkey on this, and partially, I think, because of our experience of using them with the men's basketball search. But and that was part of the, I think, part of the benefit of getting into the process early is, they will only take on so many searches in a cycle. Again, I think we could have picked any number of them, but in this case, I think we got to go into the market and have our choice. But the role that they play, I think that's probably different for maybe everyone, just the way they approach it. But it is very important I think they do a really good job of kind of compiling a lot of data and information, having a lot of conversations to sort of set the stage with the candidates, those sorts of things, and then to field incoming kind of interest or feedback about candidates or any of those things. I mean, they just help kind of filter and gather all of that information, and then help us organize the movement of the search through the process.
I would guess this to be maybe the deepest candidate pool that Oklahoma State has ever had for a football coach. You think that's accurate?
Well, you'd probably have a better sense of that or history of that than I would. But again, I think partly because of the runway that we have on this search, we're able to cast a fairly wide net, however we want to look at that. We have a lot of interest in the job. I felt like that we would going into it, and that certainly has been confirmed by the interest that we have had in it. It's a good job, and it's being perceived as a good job. There are already several other jobs open. I believe that there will be more that come open. And every time one of those does, it impacts the way things are going to move in any search cycle or any coaching cycle. So we'll just have to kind of continue to monitor that and see how that plays out. But in the meantime, we're already having conversations, and so I think that's a really good position for us to be in.
I was going to ask, we made the move in late September, and now we're mid-October. Have we progressed as far as you would like us to at this point?
Yeah, I think the search is progressing like we had it planned and like we'd like for it to at this point. I mean, to some degree, there's only so much that we can do because everybody that we're talking to is involved in a season, and so we have to be cognizant of that, aware of that, work around some of those schedules as well. And so, but again, I think the runway that we have allows us to have a little bit of that flexibility. But at the same time, talk to people early on, or candidates potentially early on, about their interest in us. So I think it is a good place for us to be. I don't know, I think that if you're comparing it to years past, I think the program was probably in a little bit different place than it is now. Obviously, again, we've talked about Coach Gundy's role in positioning this program where it is. Our facilities look very different, so thanks to Boone Pickens and a bunch of other of our donors that have made football operations or the Sherman Smith practice facility or whatever it is, I still feel like our facilities are as good as anybody's in the country, and so it is different. I talk about this. We have 123 suites. I'd put that up against anybody in the country, and they're all full. Last year we went into the season with a sellout before the season ever started. So the program is in a different place, I think, than it ever has been when we've gone into a search before, and I think we're seeing the results of that.
How much does you have the high school signing period in December, the new portal signing period in January?
Yes.
How much does that play a factor in your search?
Well, our goal is to, it plays a factor. To answer your question, absolutely it plays a factor. Our goal is to be in a position to move as quickly as we can once the regular season ends. And that aligns, that doesn't leave a lot of time in the high school, in the start of the high school, signing period. But it does give you time before the new portal window opens on January 2nd. And so we'll just have to see how that all plays out and work that as best we can. But I think that that will be certainly our goal, is to be ready to go as soon as the season ends.
Are you having to reset? You sort of touched on this, but when something like Penn State opens up, does it recalibrate the search, or is it affecting the Oklahoma State search at all? Realizing we're in week one of that.
Right. Anytime another job opens, it has the potential to do that. I don't know that we've seen an impact on our search yet because of the Penn State opening, but I think they're early in their process, so I don't know that we know yet for sure, what direction they're moving in, or who's at the top of their list, or who they're interested in, or anything like that. But what is interesting about all these searches is then the domino effects that it creates. So depending on who Penn State may hire and at what point, right? I'm guessing they're up against the same sort of thing in terms of candidates being in the middle of their season, right? And so timing plays a factor in this, but depending on who they hire, does that create another opening that then is in the market, for a coach, and what are all the domino effects of how that plays out? Last year was not an active cycle, and the speculation has been, that typically a very active cycle follows a cycle that's not very active, and so we'll see. I know there's a lot of rumors and speculation that's out there about what could be coming, but we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. But I think there still will be benefit to us, having a lot of early conversations before any of those things potentially happen.
How confident are you that Oklahoma State can be competitive in the compensation and contracts, realizing that we seem to be at an inflection point in which people are thinking maybe incentives are the way to go instead of salary because of the gigantic buyouts? Oklahoma State is actually getting off pretty light in this cycle with a $15 million buyout before mitigation. So do you feel good about the compensation package that we as an institution can put together?
Yeah, I do. I feel really good about that, and this is an investment, and so I feel confident that we're going to be able to make the investment that we need to make to get this right. That's really what this all comes down to. Is this is too important of a decision to not get it right with the best candidate that we can bring in here. Having said that, I think you're right. When we talk about the evolution of college athletics and college football. And so as part of the evolution, just how are these contracts structured, and is there more of an incentive-based structure to them? I think that's something that we will, have to explore potentially, or look at exploring. But at the end of the day, you're in the market and you're competing in the market, and so we'll just have to monitor that market, and so it'll come down to who it is that we're hiring and what it takes to hire them.
If you were king of the world and you could just say, here's my end date, I'll be done by this date, where would you like that to wind up?
If I were king of the world and we'd make an announcement, the Sunday after the regular season ends, whatever that looks like. I know there's conference championship games and all that could factor in, so that extends potentially what a quote-unquote regular season could look like for some people. So
it's quite different, isn't it? Because it's a long runway instead of, most recently you've done wrestling and basketball searches that have all been, I don't want to say frantic, but certainly there was some urgency.
Yeah, the timing is different just because a little bit. Even in the basketball search, the tournament was still going on, and so there was a little bit of that. But you're right. The timing between when we made the decision to separate and the hiring was much, much shorter. And so it is different, and allows us to do not only the things that we've talked about here in terms of casting our net and having really being able to do some due diligence, but it also gives us the ability to really look internally at what we're doing in the structure of the program, and start to have conversations about how do we want to be prepared to set that up different, depending on who we bring in and what it is that they want to do. We're not going to do anything, or not going to do much, at least independent of who we hire, right? We're going to want them to have input into how we're structured and those kinds of things. But I think it gives us the ability to start thinking about those things and putting some things in place to get ready for that to happen.
How much advice have you gotten?
That a lot, and that's great, and I really do, and I appreciate it very much, and I hope that everybody understands that when they provide that advice, that it is appreciated. There's not a whole lot that I can say back to them other than thank you, for that. But what it does show is just the passion and the interest in Cowboy football, and that's a great place to be in. I would be really, really concerned if I wasn't getting that advice, right, from people, because it might indicate that nobody cares enough to do that, and that's certainly not the case. So I take it as a good thing. Just hope that everyone understands when I can't comment much back. And that gets into the integrity of the process, and that is a big piece, again, of hiring a search firm like Turnkey, is they can help kind of provide an integrity of the process, because we're talking to people who they don't want their name out there publicly that we may be talking to them, right? And so it's really, really important that we have integrity in that process.
People have asked me, what does what does high integrity search mean, which is your term that you've used a couple of times, and I've told people it means tight-lipped.
Yeah.
It means quiet. It means, don't notice us over here in the corner while we go about our business.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's what I hope everybody understands is we're working on this every day. It is a top priority. Just because you're not hearing about it doesn't mean that nothing is happening. There's a lot happening. But we're not going to talk about it, and that's not so much because we're trying to keep it from our people, but it is about being able to have a very strong pool of candidates, and I think the best way to have a strong pool of candidates is for there to be, and not to be out there, and not, to have that integrity in the search process, because I know for a fact, that there would be people that would pull out of any search if they felt like that it was going to be known that, we were talking to them or had interest in talking to them or anything else, because that causes problems on the other end. So on their end.
Chad, Boone Pickens Stadium has gotten a pretty good reputation for home field advantage, and certainly for 10 or 12 years there, this was maybe the toughest place to play in the Big 12. Mm-hmm. Has that played a factor in your search when you're talking to potential candidates?
Yeah, everyone is aware of the fan support that we have here, and that certainly is something that is attractive about this job. Is the environment in Boone Pickens Stadium, the sellout crowds, the home field advantage that creates. But I think as much as anything too, I mean, what that indicates is just the commitment to the program. And we're going to need that commitment to continue. I mean, we've got to have everybody ready to buy in at the highest possible level that they can, to give whoever it is that we hire the resources and ability, to be competitive in this, what I keep referring to as an ultra competitive moment in college football. And that's a great thing. We should not be shying away from that. I mean, it's an exciting time of college football, and we're in the middle of it. I mean, that's the great thing, is we have the ability, we have been, and we have the ability to continue to be right in the middle of it as playoff expands, and maybe we're looking at another expansion, and just there's a lot of exciting things around Cowboy football, and that we can be right in the middle of that if we are able to provide the resources for our new coach to be able to compete, and I'm confident that we will, and partly because I think I said this in the press conference, I'm not, the great thing is I'm not having to talk to candidates about something that's never been done here before.
Which is different for us.
Right. I mean, we can point to, we have been to 6 New Year's Six bowl games, and, recently beat Notre Dame, and in one of those we've won conference championships. We've been in the Big 12 championship games, those sorts of things. So it's not like we've never been there and done that.
And when you throw in the Les Miles years, it's really 25 years of an entire generation of pretty good football here.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're aware of that. I talk about that, but I think anybody that obviously follows college football as much as any of our candidates would, have an understanding of where this job is sort of positioned, but we also have to be very clear that we're continuing to make those investments. I mean, it wouldn't matter who we hire if they don't have the resources to be competitive. We're not going to be. I mean, those two things go hand in hand, and it's no different than any other business. I mean, I think that is true of any business, is you have to invest in it to continue to grow, to continue to be successful, and our fans, our donors have been great about that, and we're just going to need to continue to be great about that moving forward.
Let me ask you sort of an inside baseball question. Do you have any conversations with the other schools who have openings, or are you using the firm to help gauge what's happening with the other searches?
Not so much direct conversations. I mean, you hear a lot of things from it's kind of a triangulation, if you will, of different conversations, and then yes, the search firm is certainly on top of sort of those types of things as well. There's so many things that factor into everybody's search, including ours, and some of those cross over and some of them don't. What is it that you're looking for? Number one, what are the, kind of what is the profile that you're after? And certainly in there is geography, so Penn State is clearly in a different part of the country than we are. They're in a different conference than we are. Virginia Tech, same thing. Arkansas in this part of the country, right? So the geography matches potentially, different conference, all that kind of thing. So all of those things factor into it, and we kind of, tried through different conversations, have an understanding of maybe what they're looking for, what direction they're going in, because it may impact our search. It may not, and there's, there's a lot of really good candidates out there. And so we'll just have to see how all of that ends up playing out. I want somebody that wants to be here. I think that is an important part of being successful, is that commitment of somebody that wants to be here, that sees this as, that kind of job that they kind of want to run to, and the opportunity that this presents to them, their family, their future, all of those things. And I think it is, for all the reasons that we've talked about, fan support and resources and facilities and everything that we provide here. And I think it is being perceived that way, but that is certainly something that I think kind of falls into the fit category a little bit, because if that is how they feel about this job, well, then that probably is going to be a big part of them being a great fit for Oklahoma State.
I mean, the job is better because you don't get lucky for 25 years. I mean, you can win here,
right.
And more than two coaches have won here, but
right.
Certainly in the last generation, there's been almost nonstop success, and I think that has to make the carrot a little bigger for some coaches out there who maybe in the year 2000 may not have been interested.
Right. Yeah, I think we can, obviously we've shown that we can recruit some of the best athletes in the country right here to Stillwater, Oklahoma, in football. We do it in all other sports as well, and we've done that for a long time. I mean, even more than 25 years, Barry Sanders, Thurman Thomas, Mark Moore. I mean, you just keep, going back. So, and that's what we're going to need to be able to continue to do. We've got to have a leader that, of the program that comes in here and puts in place everything that is needed to be able to attract, the best talent that we can get here, talent that is capable of whatever path that may be. I mean, there's part of it too, is we've had a lot of players go on to the NFL that started as walk-ons, so I think there's still room for that kind of development and those sorts of things too. But certainly recruiting high-level talent here has got to be part of what it is that we continue to do.
Chad, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Kevin.
And thank you for joining the Inside OSU Athletics podcast. We'll see you next week.